Hey, what's up, guys? This is your boy Travis back again here at Big Boy Toy Reviews. And I know I've been gone for a while. I haven't done a review for a good while. Just haven't had the time, but I definitely wanted to get this review in because I'm basically making sure that I at least hit all the One Piece figures that come out. So I'm going to try to at least do a review for all of those. I do plan on putting some more reviews together and more consistently here soon, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, today we are taking a look at SH Figuarts One Piece Kaido, King of the Beasts, and this is a big boy. This here is a big action figure. There's a lot of action figure here, and the price would say that as well. How much you got to pay for this guy? I ended up actually getting him used from Mandarake. One of these popped up out of nowhere, and I still had to pay $90 something for shipping. So I thought I was getting a deal. I thought I was gonna be able to get this guy under $200 because most of the sites like Hobby Link and all that were selling them for over. I feel like after he came out, I saw that the price seemed to have gone up because I swear they had him for like 160 or something, but I could be tripping. But so he was expensive. But you get a lot of figure. You should have seen the size of the box that it came in. So this is the box. Let's get this guy out of the way and take a quick look at the box. He's definitely got some weight to him. I know this is a weird setup that I got. Usually I'm not this far. I don't pan out this far, so you don't typically see like my light box. You don't typically see the bars. At least I try to hide them as much as I can. But this thing is so big that I had to do a more zoomed out video to get the box into the video. But anyway, here is the front of the box, and it's your pretty typical One Piece fare, just in a much larger size. I do like the One Piece boxes. I do like the art and stuff that's on them. But yeah, it's got the you got all the figure inside here, typically with his hands and his faces and all his accessories. I do like the side here. That looks pretty good. And then here's the back of the box. It comes with the Build the Luffy figure, Build the Luffy face there, showing all his faces. He has very awesome accessories. I love his accessories. There is some good and bad with this guy. Mostly good, but some bad because no figure is perfect. But that is it for the box. Let's go ahead and get this out the way, and we'll just put this off to the side here. I could use it as a background, but I won't. Let's get this big guy in here. So let me get a scale out here. Let me get my scale and we can see how much he actually weighs. Grams. And then we can just convert. Whoop, and his face came off. We'll talk about that in the review. So 1,518 grams. You do the conversion. So he is a hefty boy. I might have a conversion somewhere in the video. So yeah, so that is with his cape on and his club, which I don't remember what it's called. I looked it up and then I forgot. But yeah, let's get his accessories off of him. Let me just get these taken off because we want to do we'll do proper articulation. So we'll just get these two things off. Put that off to the side. Then his cape, we will talk about that later, but it does just plug into his back, and it is in there really good. So that's one good thing about it. It's in there really good, but it is a pain in the ass to take off. Actually, I have to do this off camera. Him here, and technically his tail came separately, was separated from him. But you're probably not going to have him displayed without his tail. Plus, you kind of want his tail to stay on there to prop him up. We'll get his face on there. We'll talk about these freaking whiskers here in a minute. But they just plug in like so. They can be a pain in the ass. They are a pain in the ass. There's no questions to it. It's a pain in the ass. Let's get this here. I'm not gonna take too much time dealing with, actually take his head off and take his face off. Get his head plugged in, and then we can get the face plugged in. There we go. All right, so here we have him without all his stuff on. And you just want to know how much he weighs then. Still quick Terra. And he's 895 grams without all that stuff on. So that stuff adds quite a bit of weight to him. When we're talking about, he was previously 1500, and there is one of his whiskers flying off once again. Let's see. I actually don't know where I'm going to display him. I'm going to have to move some stuff. Okay. All right. So let's get a good look at him. So spread out like this. I can actually probably zoom in a little bit. There we go. Yeah, they did a really good job on the sculpt here. Like, all his scales look really, really nice. I assume in different shots, his scales are bluer in other areas. But there are shots where you just see the scales blue here at the top, and they don't go all the way around to his back, unfortunately, which is kind of strange. You just have it around the neck, but for some reason they don't have the blue scales on the back. I'm just gonna, oh man, okay. And mine are kind of damaged because the way that I was putting them on there, I was using my fingernail. I wonder if I can see, and I was using my fingernail, and it was cutting into the plastic. So don't be like me and do that. You can't put them in there without like having to use your fingernail to get in there, but they are a pain in the ass. And you have to swap these out with every face change. So that's one of my big gripes about this figure, is that they should have just put the whiskers in all the faces. I'm sure it'd have been some issue with packaging. Might have made the packaging a little bit more difficult to deal with, but if they had just made these whiskers a softer plastic, probably similar to the plastic that's on his horns, but there's a very soft plastic here under his thing here that the chains are connected to. They could have made it that soft plastic like that, and then just packed them in the box and put it with all the faces. I get what they were doing. I understand what they were doing, but it is a huge pain in the ass to deal with swapping out his faces and having to swap out his mustache whiskers all the time. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of fiddly issues. His beard does have a tendency to pop off as well. It's just on the ball peg, especially when you're posing him. Anybody that has dealt with SH Figuarts, he does have that same issue where if you make him look down too much, his beard will pop off and his face will fall off as well. He doesn't have a whole lot of articulation in this area, just due to the nature of the character. But the articulation that he does have there is pretty good. Sorry about that, got a phone call. But anyway, like I said, he does have some articulation in his neck. But yeah, back to his aesthetics. The scar looks really, really nice. I like how they did that. This is clearly a separate piece, because you can tell, right? You can tell here that this must be some kind of insert mold or something like that. Oh, here we go with this again. I don't know. It's not usually this bad. Got his whiskers back on. Anyway, so that looks really good. There's a lot of good shading in his chest and his stomach. I definitely think they could have done some shading on his arms. At least if they weren't going to add the darker blue paint, they could have at least added some shading on his arms and his legs. So you don't get a whole lot of shading there. I'm not seeing any shading in this purple piece here. Another thing too, it's super weird that they made this a super soft piece under him, but for some reason they made this a harder plastic. It's not extremely hard. It's not like as hard as, like, say this, but it's much thicker and harder than this nice soft plastic here. They could have just made the whole thing out of that plastic. I don't know why they didn't. With that being said, it would have been nice if they made his hair out of that plastic as well. A lot of Figmas end up using soft plastic for hair, and personally I think it's a good move, especially for characters with long hair like him. So I do wish they did that. But yeah, there's not really any shading that I can see on his pants. There is a little shading here on this rope part. I don't know what this piece is called. I didn't bother looking it up to see what that is called. But yeah, then he got his little feet. his I think what are these legs called? The jitter grade or something like that. I actually have to stand up, but you can see his feet are done really nicely. The scales on it are really nice. Yeah, see, he looks really good. Even the spikes on his arm, these are pointy, so watch out for those. But his horns here, like his oni horns or whatever, they're all made out of a softer plastic as well. So they have a lot of mixed media here. And they could have just done the hair that way too. I don't know why they didn't. They clearly have it, but for some reason I don't know. SH Figuarts makes weird decisions sometimes during their design process that just doesn't make sense sometimes. These are real chains on him here though, so that's really cool. He is, I think, I want to say, I know for a fact at least his legs. We'll actually take this off for a second. I know for a fact at least his legs are metal. They do have a metal frame in his legs at least. I assume it's probably like a double or like a two pegs for the legs, and then it goes up into the torso. I assume it's connected like that. So that piece is metal. I don't know about anywhere in the chest if he has any metal there. And he can't stand up on his own. He doesn't necessarily need his tail to stand him up. He can stand up just fine without the tail. But I mean, once you put on that cape, which we'll get to the cape here in a minute when I get to accessories. Once you put on that cape and dealing with his other stuff, it's just better to have the tail, so you don't have to really deal with him falling backwards when you put the cape on, because you'll probably, most people will probably have him with his cape on, because he basically had it on the entire time he was fighting Luffy in the anime. So but yeah, he looks really, really good. I really dig his face. So this is the face that comes on him in the box. And they did a really, really fantastic job on his face. It is so freaking good. They did a really good job. You'll get a better look when I look at the accessories. We'll get a closer look at the face. But the teeth and everything, the scales look fantastic on his face. It is the spitting image of Kaido, for sure. It's just amazing that they made this guy. I know the Wano arc was really popular back when they started announcing these Gear 5 Luffy and everything, and so it's just really surprising they made him before they made Nami from that arc, a Robin from that arc. Just, I don't understand why they don't just make the main crew. I guess they felt like they needed to throw some bad guys in there somewhere, which I understand. But you got Law coming out next, and you got Kid coming out next. Like, why are those two coming out before Nami and Robin? I'll at least think there, if they, that's fine if they don't bring out a Brook, or they don't bring out actually, honestly, they should have. Frankie would have been a nice one to have out, but Frankie would be a big boy. If they do a Frankie, it would be interesting to see how that looks compared to him. Because I'll show you when I get to some size comparisons with other figures. It'll be interesting to see, because Frankie is a chunky character, so they would really need to. I just don't think the scaling is going to go well once we get a Frankie, because Frankie is going to have to be big, and I can easily see Frankie like coming up to like Kaido's chest probably. You would hope that he'd still be smaller, but yeah, Frankie is not up to Kaido's chest in the anime, so the scaling is going to be very, very off. I mean, honestly, there was no way they were going to be able to properly scale this guy. If that was the case, he would be, about a half size bigger or taller than this, maybe even bigger. He might be twice the size. He might need to be twice the size to actually be properly scaled with the figure. So the scaling was always going to be off, but it's going to look even worse when we get characters like Frankie. And I'll even say if we do get what's my man's name? That's a fishman. It's escaped my mind, but he used to be one of the warlords or whatever. But he's a big boy too, so be interesting. I don't know how deep they're gonna go. I don't know if they're gonna go that deep in and have characters like that. But we'll see. Anyway, now I'm just rambling. But yeah, he looks really, really freaking good. So let's get on to the accessories. We'll get this one out the way right away. Here's cape. So this is very heavy. If we want to weigh just this in grams, this alone is 462 grams. So this thing is very heavy. It's almost as heavy as the figure with the tail on it. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I don't particularly like it. There's a lot of gappiness here. It does sit on him nicely, but there's way too much going on here. They could have easily made a softer plastic, very similar to what's on his waist or under his thing here, and made it 1 or 2 pieces, and it would have been fine. But I don't know why they did this. It fits in his back very nicely, and when you're looking at the figure from the front, it doesn't look bad. But from the back, it is just a chunky piece of just separated mess. The sculpting of the feathers and stuff is okay. It's kind of soft, to be honest with you. It could have definitely used, I feel like there might be some shading in here somewhere. With my lights, I guess I'm just not really seeing it from what I'm looking at, but it looks like there might be some shading up here, maybe some shading scattered around, but if it is, it's so scattered around that you can't really tell. So it's not really doing what it's supposed to be doing. But yeah, this is a big chunky mess, and it comes in the box in pieces. So you do have to put this all together, and it comes in the box. It comes in the box in pieces. So yeah, that's his cape. Let's set that on the side there. Then let's take a look at the faces. So he does come with 5 extra faces, including the face that came on him. So we can take this one off, and we can get a closer look at this face. So yeah, like I was saying, these are done really, really nicely. I like the eyes, the teeth look good, the scales and everything. And they're all lettered for some reason. So this is the one that came with him in the box. So I guess that's why that's A. Not quite sure why they're lettered, but the transition of the horns and stuff, it looks good. It looks really good. Then we have another kind of smiley face here. Again, that one looks good, and it looks goofy without the whiskers. That's why I was fighting to keep them in there. Then we have a nice yelling face, so that one looks good as well. And as you can see, like I said, you have to take the beard off every time you swap the faces. This one I really like, this laughing face. This one looks really cool. I like this one a lot. The eyes again look good. And then we got probably his most goofy faces. If you've seen the anime, you know what he was doing when he was making this face. Look, I don't know, it's like his ooh face. I have no idea why he was doing this. I know why he was doing it, but why it's a thing that happened. It's a thing that happened. So that face, and then we have his drunk crying face. And actually, I think he was drunk with this face too, if I'm not mistaken. He was drunk in this face, but he was drunk when he was crying as well. I'm not gonna, if you haven't seen it, I'm not gonna spoil why he was crying, but it was for a really goofy reason. But this one is done really nicely. I like the paint for the tears and everything. This is so awesome. All right, then we have a face for Luffy, and it's just a beat up Luffy face. He's passed out or dead. So that is good. I'll probably never use that face. And then he comes with an assortment of hands. He does have, he didn't come with these 2 hands in the box. So he does have this hand. This hand is for holding his gourd that he drinks out of. And here's the gourd, just to show you that. It is done really well. I like the writing on the front, but it has a hole here and it just fits in his, just slide that hand like so, and he holds onto it like that. And then we have, so there's only one, you only have one of these hands. Then you got a hand for holding his club on that side, and then you have a second hand. I'll just see if you want to hold it in the other hand. And they're all done pretty good. And then we have 2 hands for just kind of style pose hands, open hands like this. The claws are painted, so that's really nice. Then we have his finger pointing hand, and this is typically used for pointing, or it is used with this face. That is the face that he would use with that. And then he has 2 fist hands, and so he did come with fist hands in the box. So these were the hands that he came with in the box. So those are done nicely. I wish there was some shading in the hands, but there isn't. Then he comes with his club. Now this club is very spiky, and it can hurt you. You can fucking hurt somebody really bad with this thing. It has some weight to it. It's not like Yamamoto's, where hers was basically hollow on the inside. I thought they would have done that, but thankfully his joints are so good and tight, but they're not too tight, that he can hold this with his hands, and he can hold it up and everything. It doesn't flop his arms or anything like that. So that's a beautiful thing. I'm surprised they made it this heavy though. But just like Yamamoto, if you have her, you just pull it off and you stick his hand on there. So he does have the club. And then he comes with just as much of a worthless stand as Yamamoto came with. Sorry about my greasy hands. but obviously it shows fingerprints really bad. I wasn't eating chicken or anything. This thing is just a fingerprint magnet. But yeah, it's supposed to set up under him something like this. But I mean, sure, I guess. I mean, it works. I mean, you don't need it though. So, and it kind of has him off, if you can tell, it kind of has him off the ground. So it's not really holding him all that great. His tail is probably still the thing that's holding him up basically here. But you do get it, and it works. Yamamoto's, I don't use it, and I never found a way to use it. So that is it for accessories. So let's get on to articulation. Alrighty, now on to articulation. So see if we can do this without a whisker falling off. It will probably be impossible. Okay, I guess I didn't really show the tail off that much. It does come separately in the packaging. So it is separated, and it's just segmented with ball hinges. And so basically you're just gonna get an up and down out of this. This is a ball peg at the end. It's relatively loose. But yeah, you're mostly just gonna get an up and down with this tail if you get that. This piece is, yeah, basically just up and down. It is also painted very nicely. You can see the dark blue scales on this too. I don't know why he doesn't have it on his back, but it just kind of doesn't make sense if he's gonna have it here but not anywhere on his back. But there is some shading throughout the tail, so that's really nice. So I do like that. Luckily, this will be on the ground, so you won't see that joint. So let's go to the top. But yeah, his tail does come separately in the box, and it just plugs in right there. It's basically just a static peg. It doesn't click in or anything. So it does have a tendency to fall off when you're messing around with him, which is kind of the case in general with him. Especially, you'll see here in a little bit. I won't be surprised if something falls off while I'm posing him. So the head articulation, his hair is on a ball peg in the back. So that can go up and down, and you're not going to get a whole lot of tilt with it. So basically just up and down. His head, he can look up. Let's see, he can kind of look up about that much. So that's all you're really going to get out of that. And you got to incorporate the neck in there quite a bit. I'm going to try to use just the neck and head articulation. Yeah. So he can look up that much. He's a big dude, so I don't know who Kaido would ever be looking up, who he would be looking up at. But he can look up a little bit. He can get a little tiny bit of tilt out of that, but you're not going to get a whole lot. I might actually take these off. Yeah, we're just going to take these off. And his hair just fell off. His hair just recently started doing it. It wasn't happening before, but yep, faces and everything. So you're not going to get a whole lot of tilt out of this guy. Unfortunately, he can look down. I'm holding his face. So he can look down about that much. If you keep going, his face will pop off. So he has a joint in there that can look further down, but because of his face, he's not going to be able to look down that much. So you're going to have to incorporate some of the ab articulation to make him look down. His shoulders are on almost similar to like a Regaltech joint here, except it doesn't have the detents in it, the ratchet. So it's not a ratchet, but it is very, very stiff. So be careful when you're moving it around. It's properly stiff. It's not it doesn't feel like it's going to break, but it is properly stiff for you to be able to hold his club. Mine is having somewhat of a loose bicep issue here. I can't pull it off like that. It's not falling off, but I've had it look like it's coming off. So you can't get his shoulder up about that high. You can go all the way around with it. So bicep swivel. You do get see, it's loosening up. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else gets in, if they're gonna have that problem or not, but I do. He can get a little past 90 there, and then he has the wrist hinge for his hand, and that is also very, very tight. But let's see, torso is going to be a little tough to show off here, because I do keep getting stabbed by his wrist thing. But if we can you're not going to get a whole lot of anything out of this joint here. It's just not going to do a whole lot. Unfortunately, not a lot of side to side. Yeah, it does not really go back at all either. You do get a decent crunch though. There is a decent crunch to it, but side to side is basically not there. You're going to get most of it out of the waist. And he does get a twist. You're not gonna get any twists here. He does get a twist down here, and he gets most of his side to side from down here. And his crunching is basically there. And then basically backwards is also going to be from this waist piece. So unfortunately, they cut this out. They still cut this out, but it doesn't really give you anything except a little bit of forward, but no back. So essentially, they could have just it still just popped off. Essentially, they could have just made this a full solid piece and could have avoided, you know, that giant cut there. But that's about as best you're gonna get. As you can see, stuff has fallen off. He has lost a head. And we're just gonna leave it. We're just gonna leave it there for now. This thing does move up and down. It's not attached to him in any way, so it's completely loose. You can probably spin it all the way around. So that is loose. I think it was like that on Yamamoto too. And like I was telling you, this is a soft plastic right there, so it's not gonna be hindering any of your leg articulation. So that is good. So as far as the leg articulation, hopefully I can do this and not break anything. He can do the splits, about that much. So that's pretty good for a big dude like this. And those are really tight. Like I said, that is metal. Those joints are metal. He can kick forward about that much. And he does have that weird leg, so his knee can only kick up that far, but it goes back that far. I feel like they should have put a joint here so we can move this back and forth, but I don't know. These joints are really, really strong. So if they are anything like the rest of the joints, it would have been fine, but I also understand like that could have caused some issues with him standing. But this does twist down here. Then his feet goes back or goes down that much, and this is really tight. It can go up about that much, and you do get some tilt. And then all of his little dragon toes are articulated on ball joints. These do have a tendency to pop off while you're posing him, but they pop on pretty easily, and they're not super loose. They're really not loose at all. This toe, I like most people, I would have thought that this nail was meant to look down like this, but if you do it that way, it's going to pop off all the time because it doesn't quite sit flush. So in the package, the nail came sideways like this. So you probably just want to leave it like that. So he can at least be flat on his feet, because when the thing is, if you turn this nail forward, it doesn't get enough, like it doesn't have enough articulation in order for this toe to stay flush. So it's always going to be pointing down, and as soon as you try to straighten his feet out, as soon as you try to straighten his feet out, that nail is going to have a tendency to pop off. See, so you're definitely going to want to keep it sideways like this, because I think that's what it was meant to be. I think it was meant to be that way. So, but yeah, that is it for articulation. So let's get on to some comparisons. All right, so here we are with some comparisons. So here he is next to all the SH Figuarts One Piece figures that have come out so far. The second biggest being Yamamoto here, and then we got him next to Luffy. And then I just brought the other two out because just wanted them all to be out there. But yeah, he towers over Luffy as he should. And he's quite a bit bigger than Yamamoto as well. And as you can see, when you compare their big clubs, Kaido's is quite a bit bigger than hers. But yeah, they all look really good together, as they should, since they all belong to the same anime. So that is them with the One Piece SH Figuarts, or that's him with the One Piece SH Figuarts. And here he is next to the variable action heroes, Luffy, or Luffy Taro. And as you can see, he is still way bigger than this Luffy as well. I guess you can kind of fudge him into this line, but they are definitely not in scale. You can see how much bigger this line is than the SH Figuarts. So not quite in scale, but they still look good together. So, but yeah, that is it for comparisons. All right, so in conclusion, recommendation, should you get this guy? If you can afford to get him, I would say yes. If if you have the budget and the available money to get him, I would say yes, definitely get him. He is, I don't know, I still am debating on if he's better than Yamamoto, because she was the best figure. I can't give him best figure just because he's just big and he's a lot of plastic. He has his negatives. I do have an issue with this bicep being like loose. I guess you can't. It's not loose, but it keeps slipping, like it's about to fall off. I don't know if anybody had the Mayfex Wolverine, the yellow and black stripes Wolverine from Mayfex. If you had that, then you know what I'm talking about. His bicep would always fall off. This is not that bad. This is nowhere near that bad, but it's not a huge issue, but it is happening. It is something that I have to point out. His whiskers falling off all the time. That is a pain in the ass. It's annoying. Is it a flaw in the figure itself? I guess you could call it a flaw. It's more a flaw in design decisions by SH Figuarts. I guess you could say Bandai, because they didn't want to. I think it was a packaging issue with the heads, or with the faces. They didn't want to have these long whiskers on every one of the faces, because they would have had to package them weird. That's the only reason I can think of them coming up with this, swapping out the mustache with whiskers thing, because it just doesn't make sense to me. But other than that, if you can get past this stuff, man, he is a really, really nice figure to have. And if you are a diehard One Piece fan and like the Wano arc was your favorite arc, then he's most likely a must have for you. I plan on probably picking up another one at some point. They haven't done the official US release yet, so most people that have this is getting him from the import sites. So if I can find a reasonable price for him through like BBTS or something like that, I'll definitely pick up a second one. But until then, I love him. I absolutely love this figure. I have no clue where I'm gonna put him on my shelf, but I need to figure that out. But with that said, that's it for review. Comment, like, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.